I love that Tina is here today because we met Tina this past October when Kaitita was the organizer of Tacoma's first ever Startup Week. So I see some faces here that participated in Startup Week. We'll be doing it again this year, but it is such an honor to have her as a partner today because Tina showed up and was such an incredible support to the organization during that period. Tina brings over 2 decades of expertise to her work, honed in roles at Goldman Sachs and Price Waterhouse. She's known for transforming financial functions beyond accounting and compliance. She has managed billion-dollar portfolios, navigated company turnarounds, and closed high-value deals. But she's a passionate mentor for underrepresented entrepreneurs. She equips founders with invaluable skills for managing rapid growth, building profitability, and understanding the real work of CFOs. You're all wearing those hats, right? So welcome, Tina, and thank you so much. And do you want to log in?
No, not yet.
Not yet? Okay. So when you're ready.
Yep. Good morning. Good morning. This is a great person. I just was sitting back there hearing about all your businesses, and I'm so excited to connect with each of you one-on-one because, as David said, when I sit in a room like this, I'm like, what business can I do with that person? What business can I do with that person? How can I help this person? Because if I help this person, they might help me, right? And everyone in this room owns their own business, one way or another. Even if your only business is your household, those people are running a business. Moms used to do it, think about the 50s. You're sitting there with your coupons. This is how much I've got. That hasn't changed. The reality is we have budgets for our households. We need to make sure we have enough money, and we have the same for our businesses. So we want to start making the concepts of accounting really practical for you. Now, this is what I will say. QuickBooks has fabulous learning things, but accounting is a rule-based system. And if you don't know the rules, it probably won't make sense to you. So be careful. We're going to talk about one of the areas that I think applies to a lot of you that I didn't put in the presentation, but after listening to the Square presentation, we're going to touch on it, which is sales tax. That is a very, very complex issue, and you don't want to get caught behind, as you said, right? Trying to catch up on any kind of taxes. So we're going to go through some basics about accounting, and then I'm going to have you log into your QuickBooks. If you haven't set up your QuickBooks, we'll do that. And then we're going to go through a few short hands-on exercises. Now, when I say hands-on, I'm not Martine. No. I want to come around and see that you got QuickBooks on your tablet, right? So that means how many of you have a QuickBooks account, but it's not set up yet?
I have a question.
Yes.
And I'm sorry, and it's part of it. I recently had to hire an accounting for do my quarterly
Yes.
Taxes and everything. One of the things that she was like, hey, I have to do a lot of adjustments because you're not doing the right charge on the taxes. You don't have to do this and that. And that was, I was like, ah. So she opened she works with QuickBooks, my accountant, and she got an account for me and everything. I was mentioning if she could give me the login and everything. She's like, no, because I don't want you to mess it up yet. I do have one, but obviously with her, I don't know if I have to open one different or I have to, I don't know. I'm learning.
It's okay. You can look on with somebody else, but I want you to actually see the live.
Because I'm a visual person and I gotta work on it so that way I can remember how I
Yes.
did it.
Let me tell you something. Your accountant works for you, not the other way around. She can give you access where you can go in and see things and not do anything. If she's afraid that you might mess something up, she can give you that kind of access. So there's lots of ways that you can have access without messing everything up,
Okay,
quote unquote, right? So
okay.
she can restrict your access. So don't take those kinds of answers easily. When someone says to you, no, 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 you can't, say, okay, then give me read-only access for right now until I understand more about it. But it's your business. Those
Correct.
are your numbers and you need to be aware of them,
Okay,
okay?
of course.
So, but for today, I would say just look on with somebody else. So how many of you have set up a QuickBooks account?
I'm kind of in the same, I'm in the same
Same
boat. Well, not exactly. So I've been running my business and I have a CPA. She handles every year. And I do my business different. But this year we're gonna change it because I need to do more bookkeeping. Like I'm to that point where I wanna be, getting some better business products and things, and I have to show some line items. So long
Right.
story short, she has me in the system, but I basically was just gonna come for education because I use Square, invoice processing. And like I said, I have a closed down book every year and I put all of my receiving notes, anything and bank statements and everything all together in this one binder. And then we go through anything and it's always organized. And so, but this year is bookkeeping. So like I'm gonna be kind of actively bookkeeping. So
Right, because you said something important that I want all of you to hear. He's talking about what he does at year end to deal with the government,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
That's not a tool for managing his business month by month. What I want you to have is a tool that is giving you information. Information is power. All the information Square can provide you is power. All the information that QuickBooks or its reports can provide you is power. Because when you look at those reports and you learn to read them, you'll be able to say, oh, that person is not pulling their weight. That person needs to be counseled, and if they don't improve, they need to go out. Because this is how many errors were in all of the transactions that they processed, right? You could see this product, I thought it was the best thing since sliced bread. Turns out, not so much. It's not profitable. I can't get it past a certain volume where it would become profitable. So therefore, I don't want to do that.
Correct.
Inventory. How much inventory have I been keeping? This is where Square is great. But there's also some places where Square and QuickBooks can talk to each other. And that is not for the faint of heart. Okay? Because that's a place where you do want someone to help you set that up. You do want, if you have an accountant, them involved, because it's very easy to have banking data coming in and Square data coming in and have them duplicate each other. You don't want to have twice as many sales as you actually had showing up on your books. Okay, so there are some areas where you need to be careful. And now you know someone that you can shoot off a quick email and be like, hey, Tina, WTF. This is what I'm trying to do, and this is not working for me. You got a minute, okay? So you got to learn, as David said, to use all your resources. And the other thing I would say is, as you're making those notes, that list of all the things you want to take advantage of, you then have to learn how to prioritize those. And information, data, is what helps you do that and grow your company as fast as possible. Okay. So you heard a little bit about my background, but this is my passion. My passion is to work with BIPOC entrepreneurs and to expand my network. I just moved up to Tacoma December 1st from Southern California. So I literally saw Startup Week and sent David a message and said, I'm moving to Tacoma and you're having the first Startup Week. I think I should come. And I said, I'd like to volunteer. Why? Because I've learned the hard way in my years. You want to get into a community, volunteer. And when I volunteer, I don't do anything halfway. So I came and I ran and coffee and this and that and whatever had to be done, we got it done. But I already felt like a part of the community when I got here. And so today's really exciting. This is the first time I have taught here in Tacoma.
All right.
Very, very excited and very thankful to David and Brian, the KTITA team, for allowing me to partner on this. So let's jump in. Okay, this is something I just want you to have as context. This is a quote from a book called The Lean Startup. I work with a lot of startups who are trying to become venture capital stage companies. That's probably not the people sitting in this room. And that's okay. But you are the lifeblood of the economy. Small businesses are what makes the economy work. And so we want to be sure that you have the tools to be able to continue to grow your business. The Lean Startup talks about the fact that most people think the process of management is boring and dull, while startups, or any business really, are dynamic and exciting. What is actually exciting is seeing the businesses succeed, right? So don't get it mixed up. Don't get it mixed up. You having information and being able to make better decisions is critical to the long-term success of your business. Are there businesses who don't do it that succeed? Yes. I'm not gonna lie. Usually there's a trust fund involved somewhere. Or a friend of a friend who invested, or something like that. And most of us in the minority communities, or what I call the new majority founders, because we're all about to be in the new majority. The new majority founders need all the same tools, and we're tired of being stuck on the outside. So we're gonna pull you into our corporate world and give you some of those tools today. So remember, everything always feels chaotic. You can make order out of chaos. You run your business. And making order out of chaos is how you end up with a good plan. Okay, accounting. Why is accounting important? So I'm going to touch on a few things here because these are the mistakes I see people making most frequently. Segregation of business activities. If you do not have a separate bank account for your business, that's a problem. If you do not have maybe a credit card for your business or a debit card for that account, where you can charge things and make sure that they're going through the right place, that's a problem. Okay. Nobody wants to, no IRS auditor is going to sit and go through your, what we would call a shoebox. Because that's what we call it when people come to do their taxes and they hand us a whole bunch of paperwork, right? We want to make everything work for you. We want all these digital tools to work together. So you got to segregate your business activities. Only business activities going in and out of this one account. All purchases that you make for the business going in and out of that account. What we don't want to see is, well, I paid myself out of that account, and then I reimbursed from this account over here, and then I bought that for the business, but that was on the wrong card. That's going to cause you a lot of problems down the line. Okay, so be sure you start to create that discipline. You have specific business accounts, specific credit cards, and specific ways of purchasing that are only for the business. Yes.
So for example, I have my business account that I always use, my debit card. But if I need to purchase something, but I don't have money on that account that is enough for that one. And I use my personal debit card to do the purchase.
There is a way to do that, but I'd have to ask you a whole string of questions to tell you how to do it correctly. So let's do that often.
Okay.
Okay.
I want to be present for that conversation.
Okay, so really, it depends on how, if you have an entity, if you formed a business entity, And that entity is an LLC, a sole member LLC, which is what I'm guessing probably most of you have. Then what you do is you make a loan from the member. So you put the cash into the business bank account and then make the purchase from the business bank account. So there's a liability that says, I owe myself this much money, but the purchase is actually made through the business account. And then at a later point in time, when the cash flow evens out, you can pay that liability to yourself off.
And how do you do that? How do you say pay back, pay?
Just like you pay any other vendor. So you could do a transfer.
But it's
In
better
the bank
that way
account,
than use it with the other, with my personal debit card?
Don't use your personal debit card.
Okay.
That's the key. You have to, what you want to do is set up so that it's easy to transfer money. If you have those kind of cash flow issues, easy to transfer money from your personal account to your business account. But when you do that, you have to either, you're going to show a deposit on your bank account. You have to remember that that's what that was. And when you go through QuickBooks, make sure that it's categorized appropriately. Or when your account goes through. Yes.
Is there a way, like some of my materials that I use, it's like a cash only service?
Mhm.
Is there a way to track that in QuickBooks?
Absolutely. So you can create a cash account.
Okay.
And you can move money from your bank account. So basically you take a withdrawal from your bank account, put it into the cash account. And then you'll have to probably, if you're paying by cash, you're going to have to hand enter the transactions of what you paid for. Make sense?
Yeah.
Any other questions? Okay. So segregation of business activities is super, super important. And it will lower your tax bill tremendously because your tax accountant will not have to be chasing things. Okay, so this is number one thing I want you to think about. 2 is visibility into cash. So when you set up your accounts properly, as I'm going to show you today, you should be able to see not just what's showing on your books, but your actual balance at the bank, right? Not only that, you'll be able to look and see, why is the balance so low? What went through? Did something fraudulent go through? Is this not what I expected? You're going to have visibility into cash and information as to what went out and what came in that you don't have when you don't have a set of books. Okay. Informed decision making, basically understanding all those examples I gave you earlier. So-and-so isn't entering transactions correct. Every single time John enters a transaction, he ends up keying in the credit card and costing me money. Because as you saw, your fees are much higher when you key it in because it's a greater risk, right, of fraud. And so you want to be sure that you understand things that are driving your expenses up or driving your revenue down or driving your revenue up so you can do more of them. So you want the information to give you the power to make good decisions for your business. And then we want to automate. So as David said, you want to use this tool to help with everything. So you may want to connect Square and QBO. QBO is a platform that's been around a long time, QuickBooks Online. You already have an online subscription through this program. You want to use that. Never go out and buy QuickBooks for the desktop. Not a good idea. The one thing you can count on with QuickBooks is that any accountant that you hire is going to be familiar with it. It also isn't always the cheapest solution. Okay, there are some alternatives that are getting better and better, and those are things that you can consider down the line. But because they do have such great tutorials, they've been around for such a long time, it's a great way to start, especially when you don't have to pay for it because you're getting it as part of the program. Okay, so what are some of the things that we're going to think about automating? Invoicing, we're going to talk about today. Budgeting. So once you create a budget in QuickBooks, every month you can run what's called a budget to actual. So if I budgeted that I was expecting to get $1,000 of revenue, and I only got 500, it's gonna show me you were off by 500. Okay, so that kind of reporting is very valuable, but it has to be timely. It doesn't do me any good to see that at the end of the year. Because maybe I'm selling too many ribs, and what I really need to be doing is selling more hot links. I'm a catering business at one point. It's easy to extract. And then taxes. So everybody's talked about their year-end tax filings, but you also have quarterly estimates and sales tax that have to be dealt with throughout the year. And you can use this tool to help do that. Okay, so how do you implement an accounting system? We'll keep this down to the real basics. Get the data. Where does the data come from? The data comes from primarily your bank and credit card, possibly your point of sale system. You have to reconcile the bank and credit card statements. So you have to have access to your Square statements, your bank account statements. And if you're not using a debit card, but actually a credit card, then you have to have your credit card statements. Okay. Invoicing, you were talking about orders. Orders can be something that can be automated through your website and through Square can come back through, but it can also be invoicing for something as unusual as what we're going to create an invoice for today, which is for reimbursement of your QBO fees. Okay. Running reports. I want you to start to slowly learn what reports are valuable to you. What do they tell you? What do you want to know to run your business better? Okay. And then analyze those reports and adjust accordingly. We in the startup world where people are aiming to grow really large companies, we call that the pivot. In small business world, we call that every day. What's selling? What isn't? What do I need to do differently? Because otherwise I'm going to run out of cash. Okay. So that's what you got to do. That's the outlook of how you want to use your accounting system. Okay. So setting up QBO. You set up the account. We're going to walk through all this, create the company file, connect your bank accounts, start categorizing those bank entries, and then we're going to talk about creating an invoice. So none of you have logged into QuickBooks at all? No. Do you have the link to log into QuickBooks?
No. I've plugged it.
Yes.
Should I ask her if she can have access to just look?
You can. They should all have a link, right?
Those that replied to my email got a link, yes.
Oh, I did not get a link, but I replied to a link to the email.
Okay. So if you have a link, please open up your QuickBooks, go to Intuit. The link should take you there and we'll start to show you how to open up an account. If you don't have a link or you don't have access to your existing account, please look on with someone else. So who has either set up their account already? Anyone? No?
Just to log in. Yeah.
Just log in. Okay, great. So log in. I connected my account already with the bank. Perfect. Look at you. You're ahead of the game. Okay, this is really hard to see and I couldn't figure it out, but I wanted to show you exactly how to set up your company and what is worthwhile. Now, my thought process is I'm going to switch to a live QuickBooks here and walk you through each of these things, if that works.
Can you ask the question again so I can see who needs?
Who did not get a QBO link that needs one?
I need one.
Raise your hands. Hold on. 1, 2, 3. Okay, for those of you who have a QuickBooks link, can you open your account right now, please? If you didn't get a link, you didn't ask for one, and you don't have a QuickBooks account, what are you using for accounting purposes?
She uses QuickBooks. My account uses.
She uses QuickBooks.
My CRM has all that built into it.
Which one are you using?
It's a DJ. It's a DJ.
Specific one.
Specific CRM.
Okay, so we'll have to look at that.
Yeah, that's what I was saying.
Who else did not get?
I was writing that up here.
Sure, so I would.
Yes.
She gonna send it right now.
That's okay. You're gonna learn some of the things that are.
She can work actually for someone else.
Here's, a good question was asked. And I have this conversation with my clients all the time.
You got the invite?
My business is really small. Why do I want to spend that money on QuickBooks? I can just keep it on a spreadsheet. Yes, you can, but the spreadsheet doesn't spit out reports and tell you anything that's going on in your business, right? So the business that I'm going to show you today is actually a business very similar to yours. It's my sister-in-law's massage therapy business. And she and I have been having this argument for the last 3 years. And I said, I'm trying to automate your business. It's fine to keep it on pieces of paper, but I'm trying to automate your business because you have all these other ideas. And at some point, you're gonna have to free up some time to be able to work on those other ideas. If none of this is automated, you can't do it. So yesterday, today's what, the 31st of January? Yesterday, I closed her books for the year. That's how easy it was. All I was waiting for was one bank statement. And as soon as I got it, I was like, we're good. We can run all the year-end reports. I know how much revenue she made, how much profit she made. I can figure out quickly if she paid in enough taxes.
You don't want to be my sister?
I might want to be at your bakery, but I don't know about my hips. That's a whole other situation. So can I just go into QuickBooks here?
You can. Just escape out property. We send you an invite, or you,
I don't.
who else needs a QuickBook invite?
I didn't get
This
it.
is the one.
I list here, David, we can.
Okay, so you see where I'm at. Your link that gives you the access to QuickBooks should take you to this same place. Okay, now because I have a sign in, I'm just going to sign in, but you have to actually set up your account. Okay. So QuickBooks does have secondary validation, which is good. So you'll notice I can't log in without getting a text on my phone as to what my password is. A text or an email. And what they'll do is they'll give you a verification code that you then have to put in here. So that quickly, it came to me in my email. And then I just enter it here.
Would it be like here for Sean?
Yes, it would be in your email. Okay, so again, I want to show you there's really good security here. It's saying, you don't use this computer normally because it's a Davis computer. So it says, not only did I make you take a code from your email, now I'm going to text you to your phone and make sure this is really you.
Okay.
And that quickly, I have my code on my text, and I'm gonna go in here. Okay, so you can see, I have an accounting account. So these are some of my clients, and then some of my clients who buy QuickBooks through me are up in my company, my accounting company. Okay, so we're gonna look at. Don't tell anybody. I spoke to her yesterday. I said, I need some real books to use. So I'm gonna use yours because you're about the size of business. So her business, last year, gross revenues were $55,000. And her profit is, I think, 33, something like that. So this is pretty similar. And that's what I wanted you to see, was somebody who's not doing a ton of transactions. But again, this is helpful information. So I made her think about a whole lot of things she could do to grow the business as a result of being able to see what her ins and outs are, right? And that's where an accountant and a CFO are a little different. I play both of those roles, but think about it like this. I'm not an accountant, but I play one in real life. Because everyone will tell you I don't have the personality of an accountant.
What is a personality for an accountant?
Well, remember that accounting is a set of rules. That's all it is. A set of rules. You have to play by the rules. Do I seem like somebody who likes to play by the rules?
No.
Yeah.
No.
I'm very, very creative, and that's why I live in the world of finance. But in the world of finance, which doesn't have so many rules and affords you some ability to be creative, there is also the need for data, and that data comes from accounting. So I have a very, very deep understanding of accounting, sometimes better than other real accountants that are licensed as accountants, because I need to understand what my data is telling me. But yeah, I'm more of the rule breaker.
I see the hot pink swirly shirt underneath.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. That's the giveaway.
Yeah.
Exactly. You know, I got a little undercut going.
Oh, look.
Your barber up here. Okay, so is anyone to the point where they're in QuickBooks?
Yes.
Okay. So if you are needing to set up your company, is it giving you a question? If you haven't set up your company yet? Anybody who just got in for the first time?
To what I'm.
Yes.
Just a
I still can't even
Leave
get
it
it.
after it's 8, 7, 3, 7.
No mic like your sucks.
Okay, basic business info. So you want to click on basic business info and then continue.
So that way, you want this all safe.
So I obviously have an account that's already set up. So I'm going to show you what data you need to have in there. So if you go to that little settings, you can click account and settings. If you're already set up, I want you to go here. Oh gosh, it's still really light here. Oh, it's a little better. Okay. So everything on this page is not important. If you don't already know, when you want to edit something, you click on the little pen and it'll pop up and edit. What you need to have in here is your company name, your EIN. If you have an entity, you should have an EIN. If you don't have an entity, meaning you just fill out a Schedule C for your taxes, which is called a sole proprietorship. If that's what you do, you should still get an EIN because you don't want to be passing your social security number out around to people, right? And your EIN is what goes on the tax documents for anyone that you pay.
I've been trying to get one of those, but I don't know where to get it.
Okay, yeah, we could talk about that offline too. Yeah, you can even just Google it. It's very easy. You go on to the IRS website, you request an EIN. It's super simple.
Make sure you go to the IRS website though, because there are scams.
A million people who try to, like, you literally need to make sure it says irs.gov.
Oh, yeah, I went to one.
But they've had some challenges because I tried to get my EIN and I haven't been able to. So they got checked.
Yeah, it's not,
Yeah, the email's right.
sometimes you have to wait a little while for your EIN. I'm just saying, whether you have a sole proprietorship or not, an LLC or a C corp, get a separate EIN. So that when you hand somebody, a bill or a W-9, or you give your employees a W-2, you do not want your personal social security number on there.
Correct.
Okay? So that's why that's important. In this case, she's a sole proprietor, which means she just files as part of her personal tax return. If you have an LLC, you would put that here. They'll give you a drop down when you hit this. You'll get all the drop downs. So you can see, these are all the different types of taxable entities that you can have. And you have to choose from those. Okay, you should have at least minimal contact info in here, your email and a cell phone, an address. And that's really all that you have to fill out for this. That's really it. Just to get you up and going. The email, the customer facing email is relevant if you start to use this to invoice your customers. Most people don't. And a lot of your businesses don't sound like they probably would, but it can be helpful. Again, that's one of those areas where when you dig deeper, what can this system do for me and my business? You'll find out that QuickBooks does the same kind of thing where they have a lot of things that they match up with, just like Stripe. Okay, so has everybody got this basic setup done? Any questions about that? You don't know. Well, now you know what it should look like when you get access, right? Yes, ma'am.
Can we talk about?
Oh, is there a way to darken it in here a little bit so they can see this screen?
Oh, here, just hit the, you have it. There should be is that an act?
This is a Mac.
Yeah, okay.
There we go.
That's better.
Is that better? Okay.
My browser.
You guys doing okay?
Oh, no, I want it to be dark.
Yeah, it's coming, so
the
you know, it's coming
Yeah.
down to it.
Is this what I'm supposed to be
Oh,
doing right now?
So
we can read the actual words.
we have the production person up here helping out. See?
Yes.
We got no idea.
So let's discuss maybe we just follow along.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, well, I think it's a lot better.
It should be able to.
Dark as a word, maybe, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that's
For
better.
the.
Okay.
I'll flip you, so you want to split, right? You want black and background?
No, it's fine. I think as long as you guys can see it. Okay, so, I'm so sorry. Any questions about setup? Is everybody sitting in front of an open QuickBooks right now?
No.
It's loading, but.
Oh, yeah, we're still now loading.
Okay, still loading. All right, we're gonna stay right here until we're loaded.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I did.
Did you get in?
Because I don't that might be.
It's because they're.
You have to have your set up.
No, I mean, where did you go to?
You don't have to fill in anything.
Was mine?
London. I think I sent it, right?
Oh, is this her? It says something right here.
Go for this one.
What?
No, no.
Technology stuff, yeah.
I don't think you do that. I'm like, here's what we said, and I said, that way I was gonna, always gonna say, we're trying to find my computer class.
Eric,
Who's your business on?
so what happens when you say drag in? Just- But
But
you've already been?
No, I just got.
Yeah.
Okay.
He's going, I think it's going around. No, I didn't have password. You do that.
Okay. Yes, who's calling?
So.
Somebody just called.
I said your name. I was trying to see how I get the invite to QuickBooks.
Oh,
Is that your?
that's, Karan has the invite.
What time you were doing it?
Oh, you're doing now. All right, thank you.
Okay, so since we have limited time, as we're trying to get all y'all up and running, I'm gonna continue to move forward. Okay, so yeah,
I literally keep my notes on like.
My bank here.
But I don't make that much money.
okay.
Like doing that.
Oh, okay. Okay, if you have not segregated your funds yet, I would probably recommend that you don't set up the bank accounts until you open a business bank account.
I have a business account.
You do,
Oh, okay.
but it's not, but you're not segregating the funds. Is that what you're saying? Okay, stop doing that. Stop doing that. Okay.
It's hard, baby, it's hard.
Okay, so now we're gonna go down here on the left side. There's all this information you can do, but you don't need to do all of it. So the other things that are important are on this advanced tab, okay? And you'll notice that when you edit things, most of the time, it gives you drop downs. It makes it super simple for you, okay? So let's talk about what you need to put in here. Most of your businesses should be on calendar year. If your calendar year, the first month of your fiscal year is January, and the first month of your income tax year is January. Okay? You should fill that in. There's no reason not to fill it in. Again, you have a tax form. What type of taxes are you filing based on the type of entity you have? And then all the rest of this doesn't matter. But there are lots of choices here. For example, if you like to see your numbers in a certain format, you can do that right here. You like to see your dates in a certain format. You have all these options for how dates show up, all these options. So there's, again, just like we looked at this morning with Martine, there is a lot of stuff in here that can be helpful to you, but don't get overwhelmed by it. Try to get the basics up and running. That's it. Any questions about that screen? Okay, that's your basic setup. We talked about the tax forms and the company type. We did all this. We can move on from there. Next things are, let's see. Basic. Okay, so now the most important thing you can do is to connect your bank account. So let's look at how you do that. If you go to transactions and bank transactions, so you're on the left, you go to bank transactions. If you are starting up your account for the very first time, it'll probably ask you, do you want to set up a bank account? Okay? So what we've done here is we've set up her 3 accounts. She has a checking account, she has a cash account, and she has a Visa. Okay? And we have connected those to the live feeds from those banks. Okay? So let's look at how you do that.
May I ask you something? I'm sorry.
Yes, go ahead.
So I'm about to open a savings account because, like I mentioned, I wanted the tax that is being charged to my credit cards from Square to be transferred to the savings, so I don't touch it.
Uh-huh.
And automatic, I have to give it to my accountant and automatic to be put it on there too. It has to show up on the screen like you were showing everything.
Correct. Yes. All of your accounts. All of your accounts. So if you're putting sales tax in one account, you're saving for your federal taxes somewhere else, that could be one tax account or it could be 2. I highly recommend sales tax be kept completely separate. That's what I want. Completely separate. The things that you have to worry about are in order of priority: sales tax, payroll tax, and tax returns. And payroll tax is important because if you don't pay your payroll tax, you're committing fraud and you are personally liable for that.
Yeah.
Okay? So very, very important that if you're doing payroll, be sure you're using a decent payroll service that is doing all the filings and everything. If you need referrals, let me know. Come up and talk to me afterwards. I want everybody to be sure that they're following me on LinkedIn. That's where I post a lot of information for entrepreneurs, okay? So this is how you link. It's going to ask you for your bank. And then once you choose a bank, so we're just going to choose a random bank right now. And then it's going to ask you to sign into your bank account. Now, I know this is going to make you nervous. Okay? But there's no way to get the data from your account into the system unless they have your password to go in and out. Okay? And there's a million security protocols to try to protect you. I have never had a problem with a client having someone commit fraud on their accounts via QuickBooks. Never. Okay? In 30 years, never happened. So basically what you're going to do is you're going to sign into your account. Now, this is really, really important. When you change the password for your bank account, you have to go into QuickBooks and change the password or it will not be able to get the data. Very important to note. So once you've done this the first time, you put your sign-in information and you click sign in. It's either going to sign in or it's not. And it'll tell you. Okay? But let's look at what happens when it'll let me. Oh, it's not going to let me go back. So let's look back here. When you've already opened up a bank account, you want to change your information, right? You're going to click there and you're going to have edit sign-in information or edit account info. And so that's going to take you back to this account sign-in, right? That's for her specifically. So I don't have, even though I have access to all the information that's in her bank account, I can't do anything to her bank account. She puts the password in. She sets that up. I don't want to know the password to your bank account. Not for me personally. There are some accountants who want access to everything. And I would say most of the time that isn't necessary. Okay. So you can change these, but this is when you go to transactions banking, this is what you want to see. And I want to show you a few things that are super important here. There's two balances. There's a check mark and it says updated 1 day ago. Okay. So this is the balance in the bank and this is the balance in QuickBooks. This is a good thing because the bank balance is higher, right? That's not always the case. In this case, you can see that I have reconciled the Visa account because they're exactly the same, right? The hard part is when you know that you paid something and it hasn't come through yet on your QuickBooks, like it hasn't come through the bank. That's when this balance might look off from this. And you want to know if there is a problem there. But this is always going to be what's really in the bank as of 1 day ago. So this means that you're connected. This tells you the last time it updated, what the bank balance is and what the QuickBooks balance is. That's what's really important.
So what is really on the bank is the top line.
I'm sorry?
What is that? actual
Really, yes, the
balance?
one that
Is the
says
top
bank balance, exactly.
And they're not the same because it's been a day and QuickBook hasn't.
Exactly.
Rectified.
Yeah, it's the way it cycles. And just remember that a lot of time your bank doesn't process everything at the same time. But I will tell you, when this is inverted, when I have less money in the bank and more in QuickBooks, I'm concerned. And I want to understand why, right? So this is one of those things that gives you instant information about your cash.
And that's when you're gonna go into the bank account and see what it is.
Yes, you can see what's different. But one of the things that can happen in QuickBooks is that you have not processed transactions. So if we look here, you can see that this says check mark. That means there's no transactions in the bank that aren't in here as far as QuickBooks can tell. Here, they're saying there's a transaction hanging out there. There's a transaction that hasn't come through. So that's another piece of information. This page tells you a whole lot about what's going on with your bank accounts and your cash flow. Now, when the data comes in, oh, of course, I just closed her book, so. Oh, that's wrong. Here, let's see. Okay. So when you page down, you'll see that there will be transactions. Remember, there was a 1 on the Visa account. This is the one transaction that has not been dealt with. And that's because this transaction was actually improperly reported and I unwound it yesterday and I haven't gone back and put it in the right place. Okay. So what happens here is over time, QuickBooks has artificial intelligence. And if you buy things from the same people, it will make a guess at what account that should go into. In this case, office expenses, small tools and equipment. That happens to be the right account. But if it isn't the right account, I click there and it gives me the drop-down list of all my accounts and I can choose where it goes. Okay?
Do those categories sync with the Schedule C? That's what I try to do on my own, but.
Right, so the categories sync with what is a standard chart of accounts. That chart of accounts can be redesigned to fit specifically
Do that
Schedule C. Yeah. It won't be too far off.
Yeah.
It'll just be slightly off. But you can make those adjustments to your
That
chart of
makes
accounts.
tax time a whole lot easier.
Yeah, and the chart of accounts is a complex accounting thing, but it's basically all the accounts that you could assign something to, right? And not something to mess with if you don't have a certain level of accounting expertise, okay? So what you want to do now, normally, I apologize because I did just clean up this account yesterday. Normally I would go in here and I would see like at the month end, I would see, you know, or the weekend, I would see 30 transactions. And I would make sure they were all going to the right part. And then I would click on the action to add them. And once I've said to QuickBooks, okay, I see you grabbed that from my bank. This is where I want it to go in my books. I've made sure the category is correct. Now I want you to add it into the actual books. So it doesn't just take the data and put it in all the right places. It's not that smart. Okay? But over time, if you're using the same things, it will learn this and it will start to put them all in the right place. So it takes less and less time for you to categorize your expenses in general. Okay? So this is the second step. So you have to connect your bank accounts. You have to categorize your income and expenses, all those transactions that come in from the account. And then preferably every month, you would go in and reconcile your bank account statement. So we're going to look at what that might look like.
Oh, Lord Jesus Christ.
I know this is a lot. You can ask because Farah and I had to negotiate. I was like, that's too much. I can't teach all that in 90 minutes. It's like, I can't teach all of accounting in 90 minutes. So I've tried to keep it to the things that are most core. You'll have the slide deck. Don't get the slide deck, right? Yes. You'll have the slide deck. All these screens are in there. And you'll have my contact information because you're all gonna come and get a card from me before you leave.
Yeah. And
Yes,
more-
please.
Do we
more
get the
importantly,
recording
Can I
too?
interrupt? Are you-
Yes.
Sorry, are you done?
I'm not done. Go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna just add to that, that as part of your participation in the program, you also get a free, I have to say free, because yes, that's important to you. So you get a 1 hour consultation with her.
Oh,
So one-on-one and you can.
Yeah.